So we've got this Sony 3-head tape deck to have a look at today. And first impressions, my god, it is grotty. It's gonna need quite a good clean, is this? I don't know what the heads are like. Oh. Oh my goodness. You should see the state of this. I hope you can see this on camera. Let's get zoomed in for you. Oh my goodness, look at the state of that. It's like everything is coated in like some sort of crud or dust or something. I mean, I know that it's one of those items that's, oh, it's sold untested. Well, I think in this case I would actually believe it's not been tested. It's just like it's, I don't know if it's come out of a skip or what. Yeah, this looks to me like the sort of thing that has come from like the recycling centres at your local council or something. It's hard to say. Someone's just pulled it out and then decided to stick it on eBay and try and get a few quid. I mean, it is just proper grotty. There's no way this has been used like this. So what we'll do is we'll give it a quick clean first before we go any further, and just try and
voice over me here. For some reason my
microphone a bit more of a playing field as to what's going on
until I come in to edit it, so I'm going to have to do a bit of a voiceover in places now, just so you get a gist of what we're doing. As you can see, the deck is really filthy, so what I was just doing here was just basically going to get the airbrush and give it a quick brush out while blowing air in it. It's a little electric not a hairdryer, but like an air blower that I'm using, and it is quite good. I use it on quite a lot of electronics and it does get all the rubbish out, so hopefully you can see that it's made a nice difference there, but it does really stink. As you can see, that looks a lot better now. If I just get zoomed in, you can tell it's still quite grotty. The pinch roller and capstan and everything is still quite dirty, but at least a lot of the dust is out of the way. So unfortunate, because the audio is not working on the microphone, when you actually press play, it does start to play, but it's chewing all the tape up. It's not reeling it up onto the right hand spool, so it's not working correctly. You would hear this on the video if the audio was there, so again, apologies for that. So it's going to be a case of we're going to have to strip this deck down and replace the belts and put a new pinch roller and everything in it and just give it a generally good clean, because it is really pretty grotty. So because it's a QS deck, you get a couple of extra screws on them. There's an extra 2 screws on the top as well as the usual 2 on the side. And if memory serves, I think there's one on the back as well. And then what I usually do is these machines is just tip it on its side so you can release the front panel screws and also the screw that holds the mech in. You'll see there's screws all along the front of the edge panel, which we just need to take out. Then you'll be able to remove the actual front panel with the mech in place to make it a lot easier to work on. You'll also see there's a middle screw that I'm just taking out now, which that's the one that holds the actual mech in place to the chassis, so make sure you don't forget that one as well. So now ready just to take the case off. This is standard fare, you just bend it at the sides and gently lift it up and you'll have all the innards exposed. There's a couple of screws on the top of the front panel bezel that you want to take out. These are holding the mech in from the top, so you just take these 2 out and then disconnect the ribbon cables. If you disconnect the power cable here as well, you'll make it easier to remove the actual front panel. There's also a little screw that's holding an earthing lead that you need to take out as well. It's time to remove all the ribbon cables from the PCB and the mech, so then after this you'll be able to pull the front panel off. On the side there's a little plastic clip that you just pop off and then you'll be able to slide the front panel all the way out. Now that you've got the front panel taken off, what you want to do is take the actual mech out. There's just 2 screws holding it in place, one here and one here. Next step is just to open the front of the tray. If you find that it's actually jammed in place and won't open, which sometimes happens on these mechs, what you'll need to do is you'll need to manually release it, which I'll show you now in the video. You can see there's a little white tab here, so you just push that in. You should hear a click. And I return the mech over and look for your capstan, which is the big round thing with the belt on. If you start turning it, you should feel that the deck starts to turn the main cog inside and then clicks. Once it clicks, you want to push that little white tab again. And now once more, again you should hear it click. keep turning the capstan. On your third time, you should push it, and you should have it. You only turn it a couple of times this time, and then you should hopefully feel it click it into place, and you'll be able to spin it over and then open it up. As you can see, it's now opened, and you'll see how bad this deck was because it's decided to eat this particular tape. I don't think it particularly liked REM, perhaps, because that's what the tape was. But as you can see, it's had a right go at that. Remove the actual mech from the tray. We've got it ejected. You just slide the actual front tray out through the hole. You just wiggle it a little bit, and you'll find that it all comes out in one piece. So it's nice and simple to work on. You might have to just pull the audio cables from the head, which go underneath the eject button. They can sometimes get caught, like you can see here. But if you just wiggle it and persevere, it will all come out in one piece. Makes it a lot easier to work on. Now we've got this out, you can see just how grotty this deck is, and bear in mind I've already given it a spray with compressed air and giving it a bit of a push out, and it's still filthy. You'll also see there's a lot of tape that's been trapped around the pinch roller, so we're going to have to take all that pinch roller out, and it's disgusting. Look how hard and brittle it is, so we're going to change that anyway. The easiest way to remove these pinch rollers is there's just a little tab on the bottom, which hopefully you should just see there in your shot. If you just bend that back with a flat blade screwdriver and pull up, the entire assembly will come out, which makes it a lot easier to work on. As you can see, it's really grotty. I mean, that is, I'm sure this must have come out of a skip. What I tend to do is just use a flat blade screwdriver and prise the actual pinch roller out. I did actually end up changing this bracket because it was so filthy for a spare one that I had, but in the video here you do see me attempting to clean it first with a bit of foam. Foam cleaner is actually quite good for cleaning all the residue of belts and ferrite from tapes. But this one was so grotty that I decided to put a replacement one in the end, which you'll see shortly. So while I was at it and had the pinch roller out, I decided I'd give everything quite a good clean with some isoprop and a microfiber cloth. So I was going in there and trying to give it a right good clean, get the worst of it off. You can take the front panel off, the tape holder off on these, but I didn't actually on this particular machine at this point. But you can get in and work on them quite well. Next thing I like to do when I'm servicing a deck is, especially on something as dirty as this one, is give all the micro switches a good clean. These are all your tape sensors that detect different things, like there's a tape inserted, what sort of tape it is, whether it be a chrome or a metal or just a normal one, and also if you've got a record tab missing. What you tend to do with these to get the best solution is just to pull the actual plastic covers off. They'll just wiggle out and clip out of place, and then you can spray your contact cleaner in there, give them a good clean, and then put them back on, and you'll have no problems then once you have to use the deck in the future. Give everything a good wiggle once you've sprayed them. Be quite liberal with it. It's not going to do any damage. And then you just need to gently push the clips on. They'll only go the one way. You'll find once you've got them in your hand, in person, so to speak, that which way they go. It's a lot easier for you just to do it by feel than for me to try and describe. At this point, I usually just put the pinch roller and hold it back in. As you can see, this is a nice shiny new one that I've put in here rather than the grotty old one that I tried cleaning up earlier. I did actually forget that I had some spare ones of these, so I just put the whole thing in. But you'll feel it go in and clip in place, and then when you push it up, you should see the entire mech moves up with it, so you'll know you've got it in the right place. So next thing we want to do now is remove these screws on the back. There's 3 of them in place that we need to take out. So there's one in the middle. And that one just tends to hold the board in place, not do anything actual major with the actual mech itself underneath. And then you've got 2 that hold the mech to the metal, which are these 2 here. So you want to take those 2 out as well. I'm now going to remove the actual plastic parts from the back of the board so you can access the belts. There's two little hooks at the bottom, and what they do is they just hold the whole thing in place. What I'm doing here is just pulling the old belt off the assist motor and the capstan. But as you can see, there's two little black tabs at the top where my fingers are. And what we're going to do now is just reset the deck, which is what I'm doing here. You just turn the capstan wheel and then push that little part in. What I did notice was the spring was not on. On here there should be a spring holding it in place, which is why nothing's moving. I was going where my finger should go there. It was actually missing, but you can see that it's not holding it in place. So I'll show you in a second, once I've found it, how to put it back on. I noticed that we were missing a spring off this part at the bottom, so I had a look in the case and it was actually wrapped around in the case. So I think someone's been in this deck before, but basically what we need to do is put this little spring back onto the mech where these two white pieces of plastic are, because they hold it all into place, and without it nothing is going to work properly. So it's just a case of line it up onto two little tabs, push it over the black tab, the round part of the black tab, and then bend it over into the top tab. I know I keep saying tabs, but it will make sense if you had it in front of you. You'll see there's like two little recesses. There's one there, and then the other one is at the top. Well, I'm just going to try and bend it in now, and now you'll see that it's all under tension and everything slides into place, and that's how you want it to be. So now we can reset the deck by making sure that that is in that little tunnel there. It'll click once. So we want to push the side release in again. It'll click again. We turn it until it clicks again, and then the third time that's turned it all the way around. And what you'll have noticed now is that the deck has actually reset itself, and this is what we did earlier to open it up. And now it's just a case of putting your new belt over the capstan, and then you've got some little tabs just to put it over, which I'll show you where to hold it in place in a moment. And then on here, this one needs to be kept in between these two little plastic prongs here. If you don't have it in between those two little plastic prongs, you'll have problems when you put the deck back together. And again, as you can see, you can put the belt and hold it over the little plastic tabs there, so you can push it over the motor without having to fiddle about. To put it back together, you'll see there's two little black tabs here, which have got like little hooks on them. And then the white yellow part has got two little holes. So you just basically treat it like a hinge, and the whole thing will sit on, and then you'll be able to spin it over. And you'll see there's a couple of little black sort of pillars that stick out, which you just want to line up. They will go into place. You just need to wiggle them a little bit. There's one in the middle and there's one just there. And then as you can see, it's all dropped into place there. And we can now put the screws back in and pop the belts down onto the pulleys. So that's your one that does all your mode, so it does your play and everything. And then this one's just your capstan. Now just put your screws back in there and on the back of the board, and you're ready to reassemble the deck and put it to test. Before I put the mech back into the front panel, I thought I'd give it a right good clean with some foam cleaner to try and get as much as the gunk and rubbish off as I can. As you saw earlier, the deck is proper filthy, so it's just a case of trying to clean out as much as I can while I've got it in pieces. I've got to admit, it's great stuff, this foam cleaner. You can use it on pretty much anything and it does get rid of a lot of residue. I even did the back and the inside as well, as you can see. Now I'm just going to put the mech back in. It's reverse of before, so you just open the mech up, slide the actual cassette holder through, close it, and then we can put it back. We can put the two screws in the back that hold everything to place there, and then the two screws that go on the top of the deck to the front panel bezel. Now it's just a case to get the bottom tray and chassis back, and it's reverse again of what we did earlier. We just pull all the wires out of the way, line up the bottom of the tray, and then clip the panel on both sides with little plastic retaining tabs. Now we just want to put all the cables back in that we unplugged earlier, and then once we've done that, we'll be able to give it a test. Try not to catch them when you put them in. But this is evidence that someone had been in debt before, because you can see there's a little bit of damage to that cable there. So what I did was I just got a pair of scissors and trimmed down the cable ever so slightly, plugged it all back in, and everything was fine. It's just something to be wary of, and it's also a telltale sign if someone's been in an item before you have, because sometimes they don't plug things in properly and you can have issues. One final thing to remember is just put your little earthing tab back here, which had a screw through it, and also connect the mains transformer back up to your power button. If you haven't done so already, don't forget to put these two little screws back in that hold the mech in at the top.
Go for power the tech on, and we'll pop a tape in and check that everything's working. It's not to work for this section of recording. There's not much I can do other than actually tell you that it works. You'll be able to see looking at the pictures, looking at the video, should I say, that when you actually press the buttons, everything's working now, such as rewind and play and forward wind. You just can't hear the clunking or anything like that, unfortunately. Hopefully this won't happen again. I think it was just getting used to the change of the setup. My microphone just kept losing connection for some reason with the new switch box I've got. But you know, these things happen, and you live and learn. See, the deck seems to be, but as you can see, the deck seems to be working perfectly fine now. So you know, problem solved. Done really now is just to try and clean it up, you know, as much as you can. It's a bit like polishing a turd, really. It's you know, it's in pretty poor condition, but it's too nice a deck to, you know, throw away sort of thing. You know, these decks are quite rare. You know, three head QS decks. These are the last things that Sony made before they dropped making hi-fi equipment. So you really do want to try and you know keep them available and prolong them for a few more years if you can, because a lot of people out there still like the tapes, and a bit like vinyl and everything else, it has had a bit of a resurgence since lockdowns in the 2000s. But there you go, this deck's nicely working now. I'm just going to put the case on it and give it a really good clean, try and get as much grit out of it as I can. Take all the knobs off the front and give it a great good foam clean. It makes me think a bit of washing cars, really, doing this with snow foam, which makes me think, yes, I need to get out and wash our cars in the van. But you know, it's still only just beginning of spring and the weather's crap in the UK, so I won't be doing that for the moment. As you can see, it's really grotty, and you know, it's gonna take a fair bit of cleaning up. But as I say, it's too nice a deck to waste. It's a good video, to be honest. As I say, unfortunately the audio wasn't right, so I've not been able to make it how I normally would. I've had to try and describe what I'm doing by over the voice. What's the word? Voiceover, that's the one. I can't think what the word was. So hopefully you still got the gist of what was going on. It's very similar to the 820 deck that I did a few weeks ago. So if in doubt, look at the 820 video where the audio and everything is fine on that. But as I say, if you come across one of these decks, keep it. Don't let it go in the skip or, you know, take it to your recycle centre. They're too nice a deck to not keep these. So I hope you found that useful, and as always, I'd ask you to support the channel, just like and subscribe, and hopefully see you again soon, next time with proper audio. Cheers and bye for now.